Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fuzion Bakery YouTube channel. I'm Trevor. This is Tanner Friedley. He's the man with the plan, the guy who came up with the brainchild of the Fuzion Bakery. Gonna have some delicious, amazing, custom, beautiful donuts and other baked goods for you coming soon to Edmonton North. And today we're going to be talking about 10 baking tools. Baking tools that every baker must have. So if you want to bake like a pro and you want to do a great job every time, then you might want to take some notes and go out and grab some of these items. We always start off our videos with a quote because why? Because we like to. And we want to make sure this is a positive environment for you. So another great quote from the man, Les Brown. Forgive yourself for your faults and your mistakes and move on. Move on. Forgive
Just
yourself.
let it go.
Move on. Let it go. I burnt the cookies. Just let it go. Let it go.
I'll set the timer next time.
I will set the timer. Okay. All right. So, in case you didn't know, chocolate chip cookies were a mistake. Oh,
Look at that.
haha. I love mistakes like that.
Yeah.
A lucky mistake, but still a mistake. They started as an attempt by a baker to make pure chocolate cookies by adding chopped chocolate, under the assumption they'd melt afterwards, but it didn't quite work. But the bits of chocolate that didn't melt turned out to be delicious. In fact, chocolate chips themselves didn't exist until after this baking misadventure and were created because the cookie was so popular. I have to say, even though I'm not a sweets guy, I keep saying that though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
There's
things that I like,
exceptions.
right? There's exceptions to every rule, right?
Yeah.
Chocolate chip cookies are one of my favorite. My wife makes amazing chocolate chip cookies. I love them. I would eat probably a dozen of them, but I don't. I hold back. I hold back. And she doesn't make them that often, so that's probably why when she does make them, I'm like, oh, I'm like Homer Simpson in Donuts. Okay, so introduce the topic here a little bit and let us know a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so tools, baking tools. You know, you usually learn baking from somebody, your mom, your grandma, your dad. And they, you know, you use what they use. You learn from what they're doing. So maybe they're icing a cake and just doing it by hand. They don't have a spinning table. I mean, you know, that's how you do it. So anyway, there's a lot of tools that you don't know about that could make your life a lot easier and make your product better too. So that's what we're getting into. Yep.
And you know, you may become a culinary tool junkie.
Yeah.
Just every time you see a neat tool, oh, I want to help make this easier. I'm going to buy one of those. Then you'll have a pantry full of tools. Anyways, we're going to start off with number one, a food scale.
I think the food scale is I didn't know about it till, you know, eventually I was baking with a friend and they were much more experienced than me and they had one, and from then on it's kind of an awakening. Like a food scale the proper food scale is what they do is they zero out. So you put the bowl on there and you zero it out. So it says 200 grams of flour. You just keep adding flour till it says 200 grams. You don't measure a cup, you don't measure a teaspoon. You just keep adding until it's the right amount. Then you zero it out. You don't have to do anything. You just zero it out, add the next one. So it's quicker, it's easier, but it's also more accurate. You're getting exactly what they say. So it's no longer you have one of these conversion tables like, oh, it's got grams. So what's 200 grams is like a 200 and some milliliters. My cup is 250 milliliters. So I'm gonna, you know, it's much more accurate using grams.
Okay,
the scale is great.
Get a good digital scale,
Yeah.
and it'll help make your baking efforts more successful. All right, so the next thing, very important. We've talked about it a couple of times. Oven thermometer.
Yeah, there's a few different reasons, but the oven thermometer, for one thing, is it helps you set the temperature correctly. So if you have a new oven, maybe it's working perfectly. If you got an older oven, maybe not. Anyway, no matter what you do, take a thermometer, put it in the oven, set the oven to 350, make sure it's an oven thermometer, set it to 350 and see what it does after it warms up. Maybe it's at 340, maybe it's at 360, maybe like his oven, it's at 220. You never know, but you have to make sure you're getting the heat that you need. So if the recipe says 350 and you didn't calibrate your oven, and it's actually 340. Of course, after the time, it's not going to be done. It'll take longer. It might not be done right. So it's quite important, and it's easy. So get an oven thermometer, test your oven, make sure it's the proper heat, and you'll get better results.
Absolutely. Okay, so there's 3 good tips right there that I know will make a big difference in your baking right off the top. Now the next one here, this one's a little bit different. Can't find these everywhere. Silicone baking mats.
Yeah, silicone baking mats. I mean, I'm sure everybody's just using parchment paper for years, right? I just throw some parchment paper on there. Parchment paper works great, but you gotta buy new rolls all the time. The silicone baking mats are great because silicone is really good for heat. It's not like a plastic or something that's going to give off anything. So it's great. They're reusable, they're washable, and yeah, they're the greatest thing for not having to create more waste. Yeah, silicone baking mats, they're handy, and they work good. They keep the pan clean, and they're washable and reusable.
Yeah. And non-stick, so your stuff isn't going to stick
There you go.
to them.
There you go. Exactly.
You know,
Hey, there
go
you
on.
go.
I'm going to look for those and get some of those baking mats, because you know, we do use parchment a lot for things that we make and we bake, and it's good, but you know, after a while it starts to get brown and crispy around the edges. You got to get rid of it, put a new one on, and all that stuff. So I think this silicone will be a better way to go. Okay. So the next thing here you may or may not have thought of, but a cookie scoop.
Yeah, a cookie scoop, and you think, well, I'm not making cookies. Whatever you're making, though, again, we go back to the accuracy. So, you know, when you look at somebody's cookies and maybe they're all the exact same size, you're like, oh my, how did they do that? You know, like, I can't do that. All mine are different sizes. They're all off shape. A cookie scoop. A cookie scoop will do that. Every single cookie is the exact same size, the exact same amount. It'll cook the exact same time. Everything will be perfect. So a cookie scoop will make things a lot better, a lot more uniform, a lot more consistent.
Yeah, so if you want professional looking cookies and not all of them looking like, you know, Mickey Mouse or Daffy Duck or something weird. I got an oblong one, I got a round one, I have a shape that I can't even describe in my cookies. Get a cookie scoop, it'll help make your life a little bit easier. So the next thing we're talking about here, offset spatula.
Yeah, an offset spatula, which means a spatula that has it dips down. So your hand can ice a cake or ice something flat, something vertical, and it doesn't drag. You can keep it perfectly flat. It's really the only way, unless you have a stand that you can get a spatula on that's vertical. Otherwise, without an offset spatula, you can't do a really good job making a perfectly flat surface because your hand's always getting in there. So your spatula is on an angle, so your fingers don't drag in the icing.
Yeah.
The offset spatula is a simple tool, but without it, it's pretty tough to make it look nice.
Yeah, so if you want pretty looking cakes, offset spatula is the way to go. All right, so offset. Offset spatula. Okay. Go to one of these baking places and they will have them. There's got to be some places here in town that you can get them.
And good old Amazon.
Good old Amazon. You can find just about everything on the Amazon store, which is, you know, I have issues with Amazon for that, but I like to support local small businesses. Yeah. That's my thing. It's my jam. But, you know, sometimes you have to do the Amazon, right? Amazing. There's a river named after a website.
There you go. Yeah.
Kidding. I'm not that stupid. Okay. Next, so the one thing that you might want to invest in is a citrus juicer.
Yeah, citrus juicer just makes things clean. You don't have to worry about seeds falling in doing it by hand. The seeds go in there. You're trying to pick them out. It's easy. It's accurate, and that way you can measure it too. When it says like, okay, you need 2 ounces of lime juice, and you're just squeezing it by hand. Was that 2 ounces? Like, that's just easier. It's just easier. It makes things good and clean. You don't have to worry about the seeds.
Yeah, and you know, I have a citrus juicer, and it's great for margaritas.
Hey, there you go.
You know, you need 2 ounces, basically 1 whole lime. Perfect amount for a margarita.
Got her nailed.
I measure it. My measure. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is a stand mixer, a good quality stand mixer.
Yeah, a stand mixer, it'll save a lot. It'll save your arm for one thing, you're not having to mix things for 10 minutes because that's what it asks for. But it also lets you multitask. So, you know, you got the mixer going, you can go and do other ingredients, mix other parts, get things ready. So it saves your time, whether that's you sitting in front, you know, mixing and mixing because it says for a while, saves your arm, and yeah, it just allows you to multitask. So it's great.
Yeah, for me, I hate pulling the mixer out, so I usually get the pump, get pumped up, get the big arms. You know, we want to do that.
There you go. So that's your workout. There you go.
That's my workout, right? Gotta earn these cookies. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, not really. But my wife's like, why don't you use the mixer? I'm like, no. No, I hate pulling that mixer out. We get so flour everywhere. I don't like it. I'll just go. Anyway, we have a stand mixer. I'm just not using it. Okay. The next thing is a zester.
Yeah, zester. So I don't know. It's a simple tool, but sometimes like I don't know how many times you might not think, oh, I don't use it so much, so you don't get one. But if it asks for lemon zest, how do you do it without a zester? I don't know. But you got your big grater, and you got like huge pieces of zest that somebody actually has to chew. No, a zester, they're cheap, they're small, but without it, it's pretty tough.
Pretty tough. And man, sometimes that citrus zest is just the thing that adds that little bit of a taste and flavor that just
you do not want to leave that out because you don't have the zester. That would be a mistake.
That's right. Get the zest in there. Okay, so the next thing that you want to invest in is a sifter.
And this guy right here, he's guilty.
Guilty.
He's promised he's going to start using a sifter.
Going to sift. Yes.
Yeah. If you don't sift, you risk the chance of having lumps of flour, and somebody that's going to have to eat that is going to have to chew and taste that uncooked piece of flour. Not ideal. And you watch these baking shows and they're chewing it, they're like, yeah, something's not right there. I can taste flour. Yeah, it's because he didn't sift it.
Didn't sift it. Gotta sift the flour. Sift, when it says sift ingredients, sift the ingredients. Do it. My grandmother always used to sift. She did. Hey. She sifted, and she was a great baker.
Yeah.
Actually. My grandmother, she was killer at it. Her cinnamon buns were the bomb.
The bomb.
And God bless her. I love my wife. She tries making cinnamon buns and stuff, and it's like they're just not the same.
They're good. Told her that probably.
Oh, every time. Every time. I say, yeah, they're not the same. Because my grandmother, she would layer that thing in butter, and then she would just by hand just put all kinds of sugar all over it, and cinnamon roll up, and I mean the thing was just gooey coming out of the pan, like amazing. Whereas, you know, other people who try to make them, they're mostly bread, a little bit of cinnamon taste inside. They're like, oh, come on, man.
You can't get through that.
Man. Can't make it through. Anyways, and you get to the golden center of the cinnamon roll, where it's nice and soft, and all the sugar and cinnamon is like soaked into the bread. Gosh! Grandma cinnamon rolls were the best. Haven't had one like that since. Cinzio is okay, but it's still not the same.
Not the same. You just wait. Fusion, buddy.
Boom.
Fusion.
All right, I'll hold you to it. All right. Okay. So next thing that you want to get is piping bags.
Piping bags, yeah. The old classic. You know, you might. Yeah. I don't need a piping bag. Just put it into a Ziploc and cut the end off and. You know, just squeeze it out there. I mean, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. But the piping bag, again, we want to be accurate. We want to be consistent. The piping bag is the way to do it. You get tips. You can have the ends, and you put tips in different designs. It just makes things look nice and professional.
I like piping bags. I've used them for cookies before. If you're making shortbread or whatnot, you want them consistent sizes.
Yeah.
Piping bag.
Macarons.
Yeah.
You need it.
Yeah. Critical. Piping bags change your life. Okay. I don't know if they'll change your life, but they make your baking look prettier. So come down to the Fuzion Bakery and check out all the great things that we make there. I'm excited for it. I don't know about you, but I know North Edmonton's going to be super excited and over the moon about getting Fuzion Bakery and all the awesome stuff that they make there. Thank you so much, Tahner, for sharing with us and giving us some information on how to get the right tools for the job. And from this tool, that's all for me for today, and we will see you guys on the next video.
See ya.